Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to the post-fight show for this Saturday, September 13th, 2025. This is the post-fight show for Crocker versus Donovan 2. The fight just wrapped up on Dazn, and we had another surprising turn of events for this fight. I tell you people all the time, I say watch the sport of boxing because you can gain a genuine education by just watching fights. Watch the bouts. There's so much that can transpire, but it always give you a reason to have room for pause and consideration. This fight wrapped up with Lewis Crocker scoring a split decision victory over Paddy Donovan after sustaining 2 knockdowns within the first 6 rounds of the fight. Paddy was able to come on and kind of take the second half of the fight, but the fight was close. Crocker's attempt at this fight was to be patient and wait behind Donovan's leads to score solidly and with accuracy and seriousness. I mean, he was totally dialed in. And from that opening round, which I scored for Donovan, I said, whoa, if he's going to fight like this, you know, Donovan's going to run away with it. But lo and behold, by the third round, Donovan was on the canvas. And I'll tell you something, because I don't know these guys as far as like some of the American fighters that we have access to. I only know them by watching their bouts from over there. Donovan and his lack of discipline, for a lack of a better way of describing him as a person and as a fighter, fell right into the traps of Crocker's game plan, because the first fight saw him winning a boxing match pretty much at whim, and it was he who got himself disqualified by the 8th round by throwing a succession of punches after the bell that dropped Crocker, and he was DQ'd after having 2 points deducted earlier for headbutts and some of the other nefarious thug tactics that he brought to the fight. It seemed like he had gotten bored while winning and resorted to doing these other things. Now, the interesting factor was they're both Irishmen, and this was the first all-Irish contest for a welterweight title, and the IBF welterweight title was on the line. So with this, Crocker becomes the new IBF titleist after Jaron Boots Ennis vacated the title to move up to super welterweight. It was an interesting fight. It wasn't boring, but you can kind of see that Crocker was being precise and he had an intent. He was urged to do a little bit more over those last 3 rounds, and he still didn't do enough to take those rounds. But I guess the knockdowns and the early scoring of the fight, because of his accuracy, and Donovan wasn't as effective from the onslaught from the fight, judges saw favor. Like I said, it was a split decision win for Crocker. I could see these guys doing it again somewhere in the near future, not necessarily the next fight, but I could see them meeting one another again, especially after Donovan can prove that he can compete in the division without some of the setbacks that he incurred in 2 fights with Crocker. Now, Crocker, I would have to go back and study some more film of him, because I don't recall him fighting like he fought this evening. And even in the first fight, he was more engaging, which saw him take more punishment. He had a damaged eye and he was battered up, and even had taken some knockdown when they faced one another in their first fight. But it was very intentional that he had a game plan, and he stood behind that game plan. And you could see there were still moments where Donovan wanted to come outside of himself and do some of those other things, but he tried to fight, but his footwork was all wrong. Being a southpaw against a orthodox fighter, he never got that lead foot on the outside of Crocker's. And so he was running into shots when Crocker could line him up properly. It's just that Crocker didn't do enough. Now, boxing the way he did, Crocker could have boxed for 15 rounds because he didn't expend a lot of energy, and Donovan didn't really muster up enough to get body work in. It was a very technical and strategic type bout. Some people could find it boring, and I can understand why. But at the same time, I give credit to Lewis Crocker, who leading into the fight was giving us the impression that his docile behavior may have warranted that Donovan might be a shoe-in for the rematch. Or was it a ploy to get Donovan overconfident and to get him to expend himself? Because that's exactly what it looked like. This is why, again, I try to tell people, please watch the sport, because there's so much to learn when we can get these battles like this, because the battles are often led with game plans, tactics, and strategies. And typically the fighter who's able to incorporate what they had game planned going in can have the advantage. Now, that doesn't mean he's guaranteed a victory. However, if adjustments are necessary, that's when things really come into play. Donovan never really made an adjustment in this fight, and Crocker could have made an adjustment. He partially went forward in the later rounds, but not enough to my liking to score enough to secure the victory. But I ended up, my scorecard had it 6 rounds apiece with the 2 knockdowns for Crocker. So there you go. You see what I'm saying? So welcome everybody. Please smash the like button as you come into the building. Let's see who we got in the chat real quick. Well, I won't keep you long because the prelims are taking place right now on, I've got the Ring Magazine channel up on my second screen here. And the real card will start in about maybe 7 o'clock, 7:30, something like that, where I think we're going to get 3 major fights on the main card. From what I understand, the opening fight on this card was what's his name, Marco Verde, taking on I forget the gentleman's name, but he scored a KO victory. And then the second bout was Reiko Santana against Steven So-Called Nelson, and Nelson unfortunately got stopped in the first round, you guys, which was really a big letdown. After they said he had a 14-week camp with Bud Crawford preparing for this evening, so very lackluster on Nelson's behalf. But getting back to the Crocker and Donovan card, the co-main event saw Ismail Davies taking on Kalman Agyarko, 2 super welterweights, and that fight was a very close contested fight. I saw a lot of things in that fight that I just wasn't with. When we look at Davis, who is like a sculpted figure, you know, at the weight, he's a muscular guy. Agyarko, who reminds me a lot of Kell Brook, I mentioned that on air. He was able to gain a split decision win, but had a terribly swollen right eye. And I acknowledged that I could see the cornerman's cut man work with an answell when the eye began to swell roughly around the 6th round, 7th round, something like that. They were just holding the answell against the eye. They weren't pressing it where you push the swelling away. And I was like, this eye is going to close on him. He could lose this fight with his eye closing. So I really didn't like what I was seeing there, but the action was pretty good. Agyarko has fast hands. He was throwing combinations at moments and instances when he could. And Davis seemed to be plotting, looking to just land a big shot. He was the pursuing fighter. He did press the action. He did apply pressure, but his punching was pretty much ineffective. I don't even believe the swollen eye on Agyarko was from a punch. I believe it came from incidental head clashes on the inside. But this was a fight that saw these two men really going at it. The last couple of rounds were more intense, as Agyarko was trying his best to secure the fight and ended up slipping in the 12th where they called it a knockdown in favor of Ishmael Davis. So there was a little bit of drama there, and replays showed that it was a slip. His leg came from under him as Davis was throwing a shot that really didn't land, and he slipped to the canvas, and the ref, who was standing on the opposite side, called it a knockdown. But this was probably the fight of the card, these two men going at it. Then there was another welterweight fight between Tyrone McKenna against Dylan Moran, which was a rematch between the two, where McKenna had stopped Moran early in the first go round, and in this rematch, once again, he was able to get Moran out of there by the seventh round TKO. The ref jumped in and stopped. It was a very interesting card with different types of competitiveness happening all around. So, you know, it was something to really take in. Let me just acknowledge who the fam I got in the chat this evening. We got Universal Truth out there, Ratchet since 91. What's good with you, bro? Eric Jordan is back in the building. Who else we got? Jonathan Simon, what's good with you, man? Appreciate all of you guys coming out there. Please smash that like button as you come into the building. But this, I'll talk about this card a little bit more when we get to the Answering the Bell, our call-in show tomorrow, because I do want people to be able to be freed up to go ahead and watch these other fights on Netflix, where they got some young guys battling out now, because the Nelson fight was inside the distance, only one round. They've got a little gap of time to fill. But I do believe also as part of this prelim card will be the Sergey Bohuchuk and Brandon Adams fight will be on this prelim show as well. I got it pulled up on Ring Magazine channel right now. It's possibly on Netflix as well. I haven't even looked at Netflix today yet, so I'm been trying to get everything prepared for this. Kamara, the Stepping Razor in the building. What's good with you? Salute to you as well. Yeah, but this is what it is, man. It's like a full day of boxing. We got a lot going on. Dazn had two other fight cards scheduled today, running concurrent with the Donovan and Crocker show. So I don't know. I do believe they need to stretch that stuff out a little bit. It's no different than cross competing with other networks. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's one thing to have a channel hosting fights, but when you're just trying to dominate the airways with it, it's like, come on now, enough of that type of foolishness. Especially when you have weekdays and week evenings that you can put cards on to give people something to look at. I keep talking about that. But yeah, overall, the Crocker versus Donovan 2 card was really an interesting night at the fights. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and aside from being a bit more busy and aggressive, I thought that Crocker could do a little more, but Donovan, he should be kicking himself, because that first fight, he losing it was his fault. He went off the rails, lost his discipline, and got DQ'd. This fight was a lot closer than that fight. He was winning that fight hands down, and he could have even secured a KO without hitting the guy after the bell and everything, just by waiting patiently for the next round. After the bell had rang to end the 8th round, he could have just went on out there in round 9 or 10 and finished battering Crocker around as he had been doing, and got a victory. But you go through all of that to be DQ'd, then you come out here and you lose a split decision. See, now you got to go and do some self-evaluation, and it's very important to acknowledge that. That's what really needs to take place, self-evaluation. These guys don't do that enough, and you can see where, things can fall apart for a fighter. So But yeah, the main event, Crocker versus Donovan, it was a fight that, I mean, like I said, I had it 6 rounds apiece. It could have gone either way. It could have been a split decision win for Donovan, but he did get dropped twice. And, you know, he did jerk off some of those early rounds. Kamara says Donovan seemed busier, but he wasn't landing anything significant or controlling the landscape. Crocker seemed more accurate. Yeah, he was very accurate. He was very accurate, focused, and had intent. Those 2 knockdowns that he scored, plus a couple of shots that he really rocked Donovan by like pinpoint accuracy. I mean, that's what the judges were looking at. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you can't get mad at them. At the end of the day, Donovan should be angry at himself. And like I said that. But even when they were talking about the fighters in between rounds, some of the corners' instructions, it's like, was questionable. You know? I don't like when the corners show such lack of focus and how to bring their fighters to a point of being able to compete for victory. Having guys go through the same motions over and over and over again, and they don't they don't look at how to make adjustments to be more favorable. They end up in bad situations. And that's what I saw tonight a lot on that Dazn card from the UK. Yeah, so Kamara says, you're right on. Donovan blew it. He blew it, man. You know, it's no other way to put that. But again, you see, and please don't think I'm trying to sound like a broken record. This is why I tell you guys to watch boxing. You see what you can learn from this? It's like this guy went into the first fight. He was winning the first fight, hands down. I had Donovan so far ahead in the first fight that Crocker didn't even look like he belonged in the ring with him. And then he began to foul. And he seemed to be enjoying himself while fouling. And the referee took 2 points at 2 different points in the fight. And he was still kind of like mocking, whatever, man. Yeah, okay. And he was roughhousing and elbowing and headbutting, doing all this stuff. And then when he did hurt Crocker in the 8th round, dropped him. But Crocker got up inside the count. And when the fight resumed, it was close to the end of the round. The bell rings. And as he was trying to get his advantage after going after him to try to finish him off, the bell went ding, 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 and he threw a combination after the bell and dropped the guy again. And the guy he goes down, he barely makes it up. The referee stops and he calls time, even though the bell had rang to end the round. Donovan goes back to his corner celebrating like, yeah, I got him. And the referee was like, no, we're waving this off. And that was it. And he cried, the ref took the fight from me. No, you took the fight from you. And I said that on the day that happened. You know what I mean? So it's just crazy, man. Some of the stuff that you could see when you're watching this sport had nothing to do with judges, had nothing to do with the ref. The ref did his job in that fight. But then it's the fighter. The onus falls on the fighter. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. Kamara says Crocker has a tendency of gloving up, and Crocker couldn't take advantage of it this time. Yeah. Donovan couldn't take advantage of Crocker gloving up. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. He said Donovan is a one-dimensional fighter. Well, he's definitely a low IQ fighter. I mean, his IQ got to be down there with people who just became a boxer last week. Huh? He just, I don't know what he's thinking, you know. I guess he would say that's the Irish in me, but I ain't trying to insult the Irish people by any means. But don't claim that guy to be a rocket scientist, okay? Because he's far from it. Far from it. Universal says, facts, Sensei. And Eric Jordan says, Donovan never adjusted his fight plan. No, he didn't. And that's what I said. He never adjusted. That's why he was pissed off that it was a split decision. I'm like, dude, you did no body work. No body work whatsoever. If you would have went in there and went to Crocker's body, you understand? But he was hesitant to do that because those pinpoint right hands and left hook. Oh, that one left hook that he caught him coming in and it kind of buckled his knees and he went down. Man, let me tell you something, bro. It's like, hey, salute to Lewis Crocker, man. He's the new IBF title holder, man. It's like, you got to give the guy credit because he was very low-key going into the rematch. In the meanwhile, they showed Donovan, he was talking jive, showing his kids and everything, and they were cussing and swearing like they had no discipline even in their domestic lives. You know what I'm saying? And he fought like it again. Yeah. Kamara says the road to undisputed at 147 is suddenly more interesting. Yes, it is. You got to give guys credit for what they do, man. It's like, you know, it's just, I don't know. But you see, if Boots would have stuck around, he would have had some of these guys to beat up on, to build it, you know, to build his brand, because he's up there at 154 now, and that is not going to be a cakewalk for him. I don't care how talented they say he is, how much potential they say he might have in his career. Those guys up there, man, are battle tested. Some are even a little worn, but others are still chomping at the bit because they want notoriety, they want respect, and it ain't going to be like 147 for him. It ain't going to be like that. He gonna, you know, have to cut his hair and trim his beard, and get his ish together. That's what he gonna have to do. You know what I mean? Royal Constrictor is in the building. What's good with you, brother? Says 100. Kamara says he buckled that boy Donovan with a jab as he was jumping in. Yeah, foot position was all about that too, Kamara in chat. The way he was coming in, he never got his lead foot on the outside of Lewis's lead foot. So there was a battle of positioning there. And talking with family offline, I said, you know, he's going to be off balance as long as he can't get that foot being a southpaw on the outside. And that you'd be so surprised how subtle that adjustment that is, but he never did it, which is like, okay, you're a southpaw, you're supposed to know these things, your corner is supposed to know these things, why aren't you doing it? It's goofy, man. Eric Jordan says Crocker went for the win and won successfully. Yeah. Kamara says penny loafers versus construction boots. Yeah, man, that's what's up. But I'm gonna tell you, man, I see a lot of things happening in the sport of boxing going forward. The rest of this year is interesting with the cards that are on deck, and early next year is going to be interesting. What I don't like too is, like, you see how they was talking about T.O. and Shitty Cuz fighting. Listen, why they got to wait all the way to next year? Dude, we got October, November, December. You know, it's like they could get an 8 to 10 week training camp in and fight before the end of the year. This shows me something about those particular guys. And I'm going to tell you, please don't be dismayed, because there are other fighters who are willing to chomp at the bit and get out there and fight. But those kind of guys, don't hang your hopes on them providing you with anything. Because listen, they're not good enough that they could sit back in the cut like that. And they're not fighting the stiff enough opposition to make you be patient enough to wait for them. That's what I have to say about that foolishness. Yeah. Kamara says Eddie Hearn got that boy Boots looking crazy out here in these boxing streets. Man, Eddie Hearn have everybody looking crazy that he worked with. It's just ridiculous what he does, but hey, it is what it is, you know. But I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. I thank all of you for, you know, tuning in to me. Go and check out those Netflix bouts, the undercards, because they rolling them in and out like slot machines, man. You got to be able to enjoy this boxing while you can. And don't forget, we'll be back later this evening for the post-fight show for Canelo versus Crawford. We're looking forward to an outstanding fight. You know what I'm saying? I'm rolling with Crawford on this, and I'm hoping that it is a great fight. I don't want it to be some kind of shim-sham poo-poo crap. I want it to be about as best as it could be as a fight. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I hope that you all, wherever you are, can enjoy this. It's on Netflix, so there's easy access for that. If you don't have Netflix yourself, somebody you know might have Netflix, but you check it out and enjoy some fight. But in the meantime, on the Ring Magazine channel, I got it pulled up. We got Tsutsumi coming in against Alvarez. That's the new Japanese guy they falling in love with, huh? Because Monster is 32, 33 years old. And you know they always got to get a new one. So Rito Tsutsumi is coming in. He's 2-0 with 1 KO. And he's out of Japan. He's a southpaw. A lot of southpaws out of Japan. But he's coming in there. And he's looking to, you know, start his career over here as the next, you know, Japanese sensation. So we'll see what happens with that. And don't forget, tomorrow morning on Facebook, Top Rank Boxing's Facebook page, you can check Monster Inoue out because he's fighting tomorrow morning on that. So that's how you can see him against MJ. Murodjon Akhmadaliev. So we got some good boxing this weekend, you guys. No time to fool around. So it is what it is. I want to say that I'm going to get on out of here. I appreciate you guys tuning in to me. Please come back and tune in for the second post-fight show of the evening. I want to say peace to everybody out there. Everybody be safe, enjoy your fights, and shout out to the mighty LDBC.